When we say that God gets the glory for our life and not man, that is so true, because we can be and get unmindful at times when we see people or hear conversations directly or indirectly that talk about their moms, that talk about their grandparents, that talk about their children, that talk about their significant other and stuff, or they talk about relationships in a way to try to tell you something and how it's been good for them in their lives, but they don't stop to think or see that, which makes me wonder, because when God told Samuel, God doesn't see as man sees. That makes me wonder, we as his children, why don't we see the fullness? Why don't we see as God sees? And this is so. This is so something. I can't think of the word that I want to say right now, because Samuel was a prophet. So he should have saw David, but he didn't see David clearly as God had saw him. And I say that to say, so when people say, they talk about their parents, they talk about their grandparents, they talk about other things and situations in their life, they don't stop to think that there's another crowd that's listening to them that don't fit into their genre, that don't fit into their crowd when they talk about like that. Because not everybody had a good mom. Not everybody had a good father. Not everybody had a good grandmother. And believe it or not, there are sweet, innocent, seasoned looking individuals who you think are wise, who you think are kind-hearted and stuff, and they are the most wicked, abusive individuals you can that one could not imagine to be. And they die with people thinking and seeing them as this good individual, and they were never not. But God sees all and knows all. So that leaves us in us who are in an abused uh, situation, to where we're feeling unjust again, because you're not balancing out. You're talking in a one-dimensional way. Is you're comparing a mother to your mother, and you can't do that. When you talk about your mother, when you talk about your grandparents, or whomever you talk about or speak on, talk about it from your perspective. But remember, there are other people with their perspectives. They didn't have what you had. We didn't have what you're talking about. So that leaves us conflicted, because, or angry and bitter, and something that me personally don't like to be, or go into that area or arena, but it happens. And so it leaves everything kind of off discourse and unbalanced, because I'm like, do you not know? Does the church not know? Does this individual not know? There is a wickedness in this world that I believe that certain individuals who do not know, who claim to be so spiritual, but they do not know, they do not see. And if they do, they choose to be blinded by it, or what the Bible calls the enemy of this world has blinded their minds. So I just wanted to speak on that real quick, short. Um, you know, when we talk about individuals in our lives, um, make it clear that this is what I had, this is what I experienced, but also be mindful and compassionate enough to say somebody else didn't have that, somebody else didn't experience that. That there are wicked, abusive, evil parents, grandparents, children, even children at times. But uh, I've seen it personally more so in the generation of a generation that's supposed to be more wiser, mature, and older than us, and that's not always the case. That's not always the case. And you can't go by gifts or um, titles or anything, because you also have to remember Satan mimics the things of God. Just like they're God's children speak in tongues, Satan has children that speak in tongues. Just like uh, God's children take communion, Satan's children take communion. It's just that one is holy and the other is unholy, and you have to be discerning and knowing which is which. And when you hear things like that, or see things, um, you have to, and me personally, try not to get offended, but at the same time, it's like it's there, it's brewing, and it's like, do they not see? Do they not know? And when you speak on certain things, speak it to, like, be mindful to speak like, this is my experience. This is what I had. but also be mindful that this may not be something what someone else had. You might have had it good. You might have had a good mom. You might have had a good dad. You might have had good siblings. You might have had a good grandparent. You may have had all those things. But believe it or not, there are certain individuals in this world who haven't had certain one of those particular things, or haven't had any of those things at all. None of those things. So they aren't receiving what you're saying in a way that you're giving it. And you can't get mad at them because everybody's life is different. Everybody's life is not the same. And everybody has the same, had the same experience or people in their lives, or supposed to be love in their life, that it's not like that. Believe it or not, there are some people who know nothing but hate. Yes, we all experience it, but there are some who experience on a whole different level. And to still be here and to still be in your right mind, that's something. So trying to give advice from your experience to someone who hasn't had your experience and vice versa, that's not good. It'd be best to have someone who's been through what they've been through and that can relate to where they're at, to speak to them on that level. Or either just say you don't know. And then sometimes it is good to a certain degree to have someone opposite of you who didn't experience what you have experienced, so that way they can see on the other side that, hey, this type of love experience, life does exist, but at the same time still be discerning and make sure it's of God, because there's a lot of things and people in this world that looks like it's of God and it's not. And lastly, when speaking from different perspectives, we try to mend things. I've been there. People try to be so spiritual, some unknowingly, but then some out of ignorance, try to be so spiritual and trying to mend things that God and Jesus had severed. And as I said before in another video, there are things that God severs. God brings, God mends, but there are things that God just completely severs. And as the scripture goes in the book of Psalms, I believe, there is a way which seemeth right unto a man, but in the end leadeth to destruction. So thanks for listening, or rather choosing to listen.